We went 4-2 in our 6 premium sports picks on BrockPage.com yesterday, and that's going to improve our record to 10-3 in our last 13 NBA tier package picks. Now the good news is we have another NBA tier package pick going off here this evening, and if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website at BrockPage.com. We currently have over 1,025 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you find yourself really enjoying this video here today, please feel free to give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and join the Brock Page family. I'd love to connect with you on a daily basis. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into some free picks. Orlando takes on Philadelphia, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Sixers are minus 15, totals 208.5. And despite a really bad stretch of games here recently for Philadelphia, the Sixers are still shooting pretty well from three land. They're in the top 10 in offensive three-point percentage. Seth Curry's drilling 41% of his three-pointers, 15 points a night for Seth. Meanwhile, Joel Embiid's averaging 23.5 points a game himself, 10 boards, 3 assists for Joe. The Sixers are in the top 10 in offensive field goal percentage. They're taking on a struggling Orlando team who's going to work here tonight without their leading scorer, Cole Anthony. The Magic's already averaging just 99 points a game, and they rank in the bottom 3 in offensive field goal percentage. Now, Orlando's just 4-17 overall for the season, and they successfully covered the number just 8 times during that stretch. Now, injury-wise, Anthony Moore and Carter Williams are out. Ross and Bamba are questionable. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, Shake Milton is questionable for them. When it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of Philly's last 9 got over the number. Meanwhile, the Magic 7-5 to the over when traveling this year. Their defensive play is also going to be compromised a little bit with these injuries. I'm going to lean toward Philadelphia minus 15 over 208.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Nuggets versus the Heat, 7:30 East. Miami's minus 7.5, totals 207. The Heat won 6 out of their last 8 ball games, 67% against the number in their last 9. Miami leads the entire NBA in defensive rebounding. They also allow fewer points per contest at home than any other team in the association. Miami's allowing just 98 points a game at the FTX Arena. Now, scoring-wise, Bam Adebayo is dropping over 18 points a night, 10 boards, 3 assists for Bam. Meanwhile, Kyle Lowry scoring over a dozen a game himself, 5 boards, 7 assists for Lowry. Now, they're taking on a struggling Denver squad who lost their last 6 straight, and they failed to cover the point spread in all 6 of those losses. The Nuggets have won just 2 of 8 on the road this year, and they averaged just 101 points per contest in those road games. And when it comes to rebounding in this one, the Nuggets are dead last in the NBA in offensive rebounding away from home. Now, injury-wise, Porter's still out, Jokic and Highland are questionable. Meanwhile, for the Heat, Butler and Hero are both questionable for them. Now, total-wise, the Heat went 70% to the over in their last 10. They're officially 60% to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Nuggets saw 7 out of their last 10 get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Miami minus 7.5 over 207. Next ball game, it is going to be Hornets versus the Bulls, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. The Bulls are minus 6, numbers 225.5. Chicago lost 3 out of their last 4 ball games, 1-3 against the spread during that span. Chicago's in the bottom 5 in offensive rebounding. They've also struggled to shoot the 3 ball at home. And speaking of three-pointers, the Bulls also rank in the bottom 10 in defending the 3 ball at home as well. Now, they're taking on a Charlotte team who leads the NBA in three-point percentage. The Hornets are also leading the league in scoring on average per contest. Miles Bridges is averaging nearly 21 points a night, 7 boards, 3 assists for Bridges. Meanwhile, LaMelo Ball is scoring over 19 points a game himself, along with 7 boards, 8 assists. Charlotte's gotten the W in 8 out of their last 10 ball games. Now, injury-wise, Plumlee's out for Charlotte. Meanwhile, for Chicago, Green is listed as questionable. When it comes to the scoring in this one, Chicago's gone 60% to the under at the United Center. Meanwhile, Charlotte's gone 70% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Charlotte +6, under 225.5. Next matchup, Thunder, Rockets, 8 o'clock East. Houston's -2.5, totals 215. The Rockets are on a 2-game winning streak, 3-1 against the spread in their last 4. Houston's currently in the top 10 in shooting the 3-ball at home. Eric Gordon's drilling nearly 44% of his 3-pointers, 13 points a game and a couple of boards for him. Meanwhile, Christian Wood is scoring 16 points a game himself, along with 11 boards, couple assists. Now, defensively, the Rockets are in the top 10 in defensive field goal percentage at home. They're taking on a Thunder team who is, they've gotten the W in just 2 out of 9 road games. And as a matter of fact, the Thunder's currently on a 5-game losing streak, and they score fewer points per contest than any other team in basketball. OKC is scoring just 95 points a game on the road. Now, equally as bad, OKC's dead last in road offensive field goal percentage, and they're shooting only 29% from 3 land in that same category. Now, injury-wise, Williams is out for OKC. Meanwhile, for Houston, Wall and Green are both still out indefinitely. When it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of Houston's last 8 fell under the number. Houston's officially 63% to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, OKC is 7-2 to the under on the road this year, 68% to the under for the entire season themselves. I'm going to lean toward Houston -2.5, under 215. Next ball game, it is going to be Pacers, T-Wolves, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Minnesota's -3.5, totals 217. The Red Hot T-Wolves have won 6 out of their last 7 ball games, 80% against the number in their last 10. The T-Wolves are allowing just 101 points a night at home. They're in the top 3 in home defensive 3-point percentage. Now, scoring-wise, Karl Anthony Towns is scoring over 23 points a game, 9 rebounds, 3 assists for Towns. The big man's also drilling 45% of his 3-pointers. Meanwhile, Anthony Edwards is scoring 22 points a game himself, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists for Edwards. They're taking on a Pacer team who lost 5 out of their last 8, and they win just 25% of their road games. Matter of fact, the Pacers are in the bottom 10 in fourth quarter scoring away from home. Now, injury-wise, Warren is still out indefinitely for Indiana. Beverly's still out for the T-Wolves. When it comes to the total in this one, Minnesota's 9-3 to the under at home, 60% to the under for the whole year. Meanwhile, the Pacers are 8-4 to the under when traveling. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota -3.5, under 217. Next ball game, Wizards, Spurs, 8:30 Eastern start time. Washington is -3.5, totals 215. The Wizards are on a 2-game winning streak, 13-7 straight up for the entire season. Washington's in the top 3 in defensive field goal percentage on the road. They're also allowing just 104 points a game when traveling. Bradley Beal is scoring over 23 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists for the guard. Meanwhile, Montrezl Harrell is scoring over 16.5 points a night himself, 8 boards, couple assists for Trez. The Wizards are in the top 10 in offensive rebounding. They're taking on a Spurs team who's just 1-6 straight up in their last 7. They find themselves winning only 33% of their home games. The Spurs are shooting just 66% from the foul line at home. That's a league worst. San Antonio is also in the bottom 3 in points allowed per contest at home, really struggling defensively this year. Now, injury-wise, McDermott and Vassell are both questionable. Meanwhile, for Washington, Thomas Bryant has been ruled out. And when it comes to the total in this one, 2 out of Washington's last 3 got over the number. Meanwhile, San Antonio's 8-1 to the over at the AT&T Center. I'm going to lean toward Washington -3.5, over 215. Next matchup, it is going to be Cavaliers, Mavericks, 8:30 Eastern tip. Dallas is -5.5, totals 211. The Mavs have dropped 4 out of their last 5 ball games, bottom 10 in the NBA in scoring on average per game. The Mavs also failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 8 home games, and they're in the bottom 5 in home offensive rebounding. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who's 7-2 against the spread when traveling this year, and they allow only 102 points per contest. Cleveland's also in the top 10 in guarding the 3-ball on the road. Now, scoring-wise, Darius Garland scoring over 18.5 points a game, 2 rebounds, 7 assists for Garland. Meanwhile, Jared Allen scoring 15.5 points per contest himself, along with 11 boards. Now, injury-wise, Osman and Wade are questionable. Meanwhile, for Dallas, Brunson is questionable, Ntilikina is out. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, the Mavs' last 2 straight got over the number, 70% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Cleveland saw 6 out of their last 10 meetings with Dallas get over the line. I'm going to lean toward Cleveland plus 5.5 over 211. Next ball game, it is going to be Blazers versus the Jazz, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Utah is -7.5, totals 224. The Jazz won 5 out of their last 7, top 3 in offensive field goal percentage. Donovan Mitchell averages 22 points a game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for Don. Meanwhile, Bojan Bogdanovic is averaging over 17 points a night himself, along with 4 rebounds. Now, Bogey's drilling 40% of his three-pointers. And speaking of three-pointers, the Jazz are in the top 5 in home offensive three-point percentage. They're taking on a Portland team who's gotten the W in just 1 road game this season. As a matter of fact, Portland's just 1-9 straight up in all of their road games this year, and they failed to cover the point spread 9 times during that stretch. Portland's dead last in defensive field goal percentage away from home. The Blazers are also letting their opponents drill 40% of their three-pointers against them when traveling. Now, injury-wise, Norm Powell is out for Portland. Meanwhile, for the Jazz, Azubuike is out for them. O'Neal is questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, Utah's gone 60% to the under in their last 10 meetings with Portland. Meanwhile, the Blazers saw 5 out of their last 10 road games fall under the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward Utah -7.5, under 224. Next and final matchup, it is going to be Pelicans, Clippers, 10:30 Eastern tip-off. The Clippers are -7.5, totals 211. The Clippers are 9-5 straight up at the Staples Center this season. They're the league leaders in defensive three-point percentage at home. The Clippers are holding their opponents to just 29% shooting from three-land on their home court. They're also holding their opponents to just 101 points per contest at the Staples Center as well. Now, scoring-wise, Paul George is scoring nearly 26 points per contest, 7.5 rebounds, 5 assists for PG. Meanwhile, Reggie Jackson scoring 17.5 points a night himself, along with 3 rebounds, 3 assists. They're taking on a Pelicans team who won 5 out of their last 8, and they have a terrible record on the road. The Pelicans are just 2-10 straight up when traveling, and they successfully covered the point spread in just 25% of those road games. The Pelicans scored just 98 points per contest away from home. They're also letting their opponents connect on nearly 40% of their three-pointers against them when they travel. Now, injury-wise, Williamson and Holmes are still out for New Orleans. Preston is questionable for the Clippers. When it comes to the scoring in this one, 6 out of LA's last 8 ball games fell under the number. The Clippers are officially 60% to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Pelicans are 75% to the under when traveling. They're also 15-7 to the under for the whole year. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers -7.5, under 211. With that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are 10-3 in our last 13 NBA tier package picks. I like the Sixers -15 over 208.5. Miami -7.5 over 207. Charlotte Hornets +6 under 225.5. Houston Rockets -2.5 under 215. Minnesota minus 3.5, under 217. Washington minus 3.5, over 215. Cleveland Cavaliers plus 5.5, over 211. Utah Jazz minus 7.5, under 224. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 10-3 in our last 13 NBA tier package picks on BrockPage.com. I like the LA Clippers minus 7.5, under 211. And with that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that's going to go to Miss Denica, who said the other day, "Brock, my guy, I was stalking your page, waiting for you to post this. Thanks." And certainly appreciate that. I don't know about the stalking part, but I certainly appreciate you, staying linked in, staying tuned in to my YouTube channel and what I have to offer. I don't know if I'd throw out that stalking word though. That's a little bit weird. Don't show up on my doorstep now. But anyway, Miss Denica, appreciate the comment. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on BrockPage.com. Now, guys, real quick, if you end up getting a membership here today on that website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today, you're going to get access to that content for 2 days, and then you're going to get billed again on December 1st. I use the Patreon platform, and that's just kind of the way they do their billing cycle. So my advice to you would be to probably hold off on the next couple of days and wait until December 1st where you can get your max value. I do always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. So just wanted to give you a heads up there. But regardless, guys, most importantly, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.